All right, here we are once again, another episode in on the End Product Podcast, and we've got Tony back in the studio for episode 22. He's back with us. The gang is back together. We've got the band back in. How are you doing, Tony? Good to see you, mate.
Good to be back, lads. Sorry for the long sabbatical, but timing wasn't right for me. Football wasn't really going too great, and obviously just busy during the day. So it's good to be back. It's good to be part of things again and see the guys, see the gang, gang.
We're all back again. How about you, Quinny? How you doing, mate?
I'm glad to see the back of this international break, and not only have we got Tony back in for episode 22, but this week I also picked up a Tony Watt Super Rare, number 7 out of 10. So my Dundee United stack is almost bit built now at this point, you know. So big game with St Johnstone at the weekend. I think we're all buzzing for it.
Should have donated your 0.25 to charity. That was a big mistake, that.
I was reliably informed. Reliably informed goals are coming. So
good man.
Should be good fun for the weekend for sure, man. Looking forward to getting back into after the international break. And like, even though Tony, you've not been on for a wee while, obviously the chat's still been popping away, and I've pulled your gallery up today because I thought definitely need to make sure I'm up to speed with exactly where we're at with everything, because even though you've not been here, you've still been busy. You've still been up to your usual wheeling and dealing and hustling.
We're going to call it a Tony Watt when somebody has a meltdown every week and just changes a gallery. I don't know if there's anybody that can relate to us and gives a wee message in or that does this, but I'd say I'm probably one of the most active non-traders in the game, if that makes it. Like, I'd classify myself as an SO5 player. However, would I need to be classified as a trader even though I don't charge trader rates? Well, I'm the one initiating most of the trades right enough, aren't I?
Yeah. You're still busy in the market, so to speak. You're a trader in that sense.
The world's worst, but my gallery's actually looking alright. I know you're not supposed to look at your ETH balance, but I'm much higher in ETH than what I put in. However, fiat I'm probably about the same, which after a few months of wheeling and dealing, I'm actually quite happy with.
Yeah. No, it's not a bad place to be in when you've got a decent little ETH balance.
I think I bought in a couple of ETH at maybe £3.5, £4. So to be sitting on the same fiat, I don't think's that big a. I think that's quite an achievement, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. Because that's part of the thing with like trading against the market over the last like 8 months or something, is like some parts of the market, cards have been going backwards. Obviously, ETH has been doing whatever it's been doing. So like, I think like if you've been able to trade against the market and still you're not any worse off from it all, you've kind of traded your way past like any kind of negative kind of moves the market's made.
Rode the storm.
Yeah.
Rode the wave.
Aye.
No, I agree.
I've been trying to sell some of mine. I know I've been saying it on the podcast for months now, but I listed quite a few cards, so I've sort of been in and out of people sending offers the last week or so, but I've had to sort of just stick to my guns on a couple of them where, you know, I just want the ETH, and then I want to figure out what players I need to buy rather than like accepting a trade and then trying to sell the player I've traded as well. So, I've had to stick to my guns. I did let a premium card go this week, though. One of the ones I've been holding for the longest time as well was I let go of Milinkovic-Savic. After speaking to Quinny last week, you know, we were talking about sometimes selling players at the top of their like their trading pattern, if you like. And I think Milinkovic-Savic has had a nice L5 there. You know, his L15 is nice. He is a useful player. He, you know, in international week especially as well, he's put in some big performances. So I was looking at him and I thought, you know, if I can get around an ETH for him, I think I lifted him for 1.1, ended up accepting just over an ETH, I think it was. And it was hard to let him go, but where I'm not really playing champ, and I've still got players like Tony Kroos there who are a little bit more, well, you know, he's not quite as nailed on as like a Milinkovic-Savic for Lazio. But one of the things that did sort of like play on my mind a bit with him was that he's being rested in the midweeks for the Europa League and stuff like that. It's just like, if I'm not getting those kind of like really useful midweek scores out of him, where I feel like Kroos is more likely to start most of the Champions League games. So I thought an ETH is quite decent. I'll take that. So that was my thinking behind that one. It was hard to let him go because he is a great scorer, especially if you're playing heavy teams in All Star. But I think I just really want to like maybe like sell some players and beef up my teams a little bit where possible. And I think in the midfield I had quite a lot of good options, so it's a bit easier to let a big scoring midfielder go. Well, I'm really in the market to get rid of quite a lot of my strikers at the minute. Got a lot of forwards that aren't really firing. I need some of those forwards with the good AA that, you know, put in an assist or a goal, like almost like the attacking midfielder, number 10 style forward.
Hottich. The
Yeah,
Hottich.
someone like that, exactly that. So yeah, I'm trying to get rid of a few, just trying to slim down a bit at the minute, but not really sure what I want to bring in. I've got some ideas, but yeah, I could do with a couple more like nailed on forwards with a bit more AA about them. Few injuries have just like left me a bit unsteady in that position at the moment.
I think that Milinkovic-Savic sale's a great one, Stish, you've pulled off. I had to go and double check there because I thought, if that's a super rare, I'd have bought that. It's like, just double check he's talking about the rare, you know, kind
Yeah.
of thing. But wow, man, that's a great turn. And actually, quite similar, I've not even told you guys this, I don't think, but earlier today, or last night, I got an unsolicited bid for my Kieran Trippier card. Oh, maybe I did mention this actually, but Trippier, like the super rare, I've had that for like 2 years. Cost me £45, you know, like, and
Wow.
I wasn't planning on selling it, but again, like an offer came in last night when I was streaming, rejected it, and then the guy came back with another one, and I thought, you know what, he's 32, an ETH and a quarter. I paid 45 quid, which was at that time just under a quarter of an ETH, can you believe? So
Wow.
it's a nice kind of flip up on fiat and ETH, but I really am now scratching around and thinking, what do I do with this now? Because I wasn't planning on selling Trippier. It was just one of those things that kind of came to me, and I thought, why not cash in on a 32-year-old defender? But I'm sure he's going to go and rip it for the next like 5 or 6 weeks now that I've sold him.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes with those older cards, like, you know, you've got to read it, because again, like with Milinkovic-Savic and Trippier, like they're both quite similar in that sense that like they're not always like top of people's watch lists and stuff like that, but they are really good, and sometimes they're quite undervalued against the market because they're not like a top like star name.
Yeah.
So getting them at a good price is always a good move, I think.
I think another thing that played on my mind a little bit with it was there's been a lot of talk on some of the podcasts and bits of content here and there about, you know, I think it was Hendo talking in the week about Vinicius Souza when he sold his Mbappe, brought Vinicius Souza because Vinicius Souza doesn't really have a bad move in him. Vinicius Junior, sorry, not Vinicius Souza. Yeah, Vinny Junior. And he was saying, you know, he doesn't really have a bad move in him because he's at Real Madrid. Where's he going to go? Like, he might end up at like a Bayern or a Barca or
City,
like a Man City or something, but he's still going to play every game for a team like that. So he has like a bit of safety. And I was looking at Milinkovic-Savic and I thought he'd been linked to like Man United and Chelsea, I think, in the pre-season. And I thought, I don't think they're particularly good moves for him. Like if he stays at Lazio, quite a good hold, but he's probably got one of those moves in him still. And at his age, he's not going to be a nailed on starter unless he moves, you know, like to maybe another Serie A club or something like that. But
the
it was
best
just
thing
lots of little things.
With Juve, and I think he's ready to made it. I think he's kind of said if he's no playing for Lazio, he's leaving Italy.
Yeah,
vibes. I think I might have made that up, but I think that's what's been said before.
I get that. And I just think, yeah, it was like, I just saw it as an opportunity to like sell a card for like a decent amount of ETH as well, like not like a kind of 0.05 or a 0.1 or something that then I have to like sell another 5 or 6 of them to get like one of those cards. Whereas selling a 1 ETH card, if I do really feel like I need to strengthen somewhere, there's a lot of good players I can get straight away with that balance. And yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do just yet. I do feel like I need to dip in, but I think I got to get rid of a few more cards before I start looking at picking up a couple of those like sort of star tier strikers or something like that. I definitely feel like I'm lacking a bit at the moment.
Tony's gallery's covered in strikers.
Yeah, by the way, if you need a striker, I'm your man, Stish.
I need a striker. Who have you got? Who are you trying to get rid of? Let's see like what you're trying to get rid of.
Mate. Benson, Van Zier, just put up a wee cheeky one, but I've got quite a few, mate. Maybe not up to your standard right enough, but
yeah, I mean at the minute I'm trying to shift Castellanos, Larson, Leon Bailey, Cho Young Wook. I'm thinking if I can get rid of like 2 or 3 of those, and maybe put that into like a Fekir or a Terrier or something like that.
Canales.
Yeah, like someone who, yeah, exactly, like someone who puts up a bit more of an AA. I think I picked up Quentin Merlin recently. He's a youngster. He's at Nantes. I think if he was at a slightly better club, he'd feel a little bit more like. But I am putting him into a lot of my better lineups at the moment. He plays as a wing back, so like his AA comes from crosses and attempted assists, and then he gets his assists and goals here and there. But I just feel like I don't think Jesus Ferreira has been like at the top of his game this season. I think that maybe he's playing on my mind a little bit. And some of my other forwards are in and out of teams, so it's just difficult. I think Sesko looks like he's hit a nice little pocket of form though, so I'm hoping he can continue that at Salzburg off the back of a really good international break. But yeah, there's a little bit of uncertainty around Fernando now at Salzburg. I think he was great for me. He's picked up a knock, and there's not really a lot of information online about how long he's going to be out, and whether or not Sesko edges him out now. So there's a bit of doubt. There's a lot of doubt surrounding my sort of challenger U23 options at the moment, and that's where I want to be strongest. So yeah, maybe it's just growing pains. I don't know, but something just doesn't feel right looking at my lineup. So I'm like, yeah. What we were saying on the other week, it's just like there's maybe one or two lineups I'm looking at for this weekend, and I'm like, that should do well. But I shouldn't feel like that. I've got a big gallery. I should be excited for 3 or 4 lineups, not 1 or 2, realistically. Do you find that yourselves, like when you're playing, you look at your gallery and think, I should be more excited about a game week than I am with like the size you've got? Or
No, not. I look at mine and think it's scatterbrain, scattergun tactic with all my cards. I've got them everywhere, but that's probably the way I need to be, because if I've got 15 cards for 3 teams, then that's perfect. But I've got cards that I've got left over this week because maybe there's some favourable matchups. But I know next week, for instance, Hearts play Rangers this week, so I can take the Hearts players out and put Celtic, put players with better matches in. But I still feel like I've got too many players and I could streamline it a bit. But that's just, I know it's probably stupidity from me. Does that make sense, or have I explained that terribly?
no, I get that. I think it is annoying, isn't it, when you've got like good or expensive cards in training and you think, what have I got? Why have I got that? Yeah.
I've just clicked on my gallery and I've got Stephen Kingsley, Hearts are playing Rangers. I actually think Hearts will do well this weekend. I'm not saying they'll win or not, but
I'm playing my Snodgrass this week, hoping that Hearts do all right.
aye. And then I've got Ricky Lamy, but they're away to Celtic, so that's a waste of time putting a Marlow defender in, because it could be Celtic are that good at times. It could be 5-0. It might not be, but you don't risk that because it ruins your game week. And then
you can't afford like one bad score at the moment, can you?
No. And I've got Patrick from Lazio, for instance, which is good. He's at home to Spezia. Vertonghen's at home to Charleroi. Like, I've got
solid
Livingston are playing at St Mirren, who are a good defensive team. Obviously, Ryan Edwards. I've got like 4 or 5 that could win my underdog team, and then I'm scared to put things in my all-star team because I want to really do well. It's frustrating.
Yeah. I don't know about either of you, but another thing I've been found myself doing since we had that week a few weeks back with the like monster scores in Challenger, like I even before I look at who I've got, I look at who are Zenit playing, who are Ajax playing, who are Celtic playing, and like if they've got easy wins upcoming, I'm like, right, let's have a look at All Star with these cards as opposed to Challenger. It's so hard to compete with like a Celtic or a Zenit at the moment, particularly. But I don't know about you two, if you ever look at players that you don't even have and think, well, they're going to smash. So I'm definitely not finishing in the top 10 or whatever that, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely look across the fixtures at the opening of the game week, like to look out for those power plays if there's a region to avoid or a team that's going to be highly dominant on the leaderboard. I actually think for 310, by the way, like, I think there's not that many of those fixtures knocking around. Like Bayern play Leverkusen on Friday night, so that'll be a fun game, and I think Atletico are away to Seville. Real Madrid have got a decent game, but Real Madrid, like, it's not exactly as if they're going to beat a team like 8-0 or whatever. They don't play like that. And yeah, so I think like and Zenit have got a game as well. They've got a decent Russian team. I think maybe going to their place.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm pretty sure they've got. Is it Rostov or something? I'm sure they've
Yeah,
got a
Rostov.
slightly more difficult fixture this weekend.
Maybe they still win 2 or 3-0, you know, but it won't be one of. Hopefully, it's not one of these 100 festivals, you know, where every
Yeah.
player's killing.
Well, I
So
think Ajax and PSV have both got really good fixtures this weekend. So
Ajax definitely do, yeah.
it suits my gallery in that sense. The only worry you've got with an Ajax is players returning from international duty, and does that cost any rotation? But I don't think I'm not expecting too much of a rotation there, to be honest. Like I'm looking at my Kenneth Taylor, and I feel quite confident that he'll start again. You know, he got some game time for the Netherlands in their 2 fixtures, but he didn't play like a full 90, so he should be, shouldn't be affected really. But I guess like with him, it's just like, do they rest him because this is maybe seen as a weaker fixture for Ajax? That is the only thing. Is like maybe they go with Klaassen. But I saw that Berghaus picked up an injury. I don't know how serious it
He
was.
came off early on. I was watching the game.
How did it look? Because I haven't seen it yet. Was it
He
bad?
walked off the pitch. To be fair, it looked as if it was like, I'm guessing, I'm not an expert, but like an adductor or a hamstring, but nothing too bad. Maybe a couple of weeks or a week, or
Okay.
but I don't know if he'll be. I don't think he can come off in the first half and be fit next game.
No.
Sure.
And so it was more like a muscle injury. It wasn't like a knock. It looked like he pulled something.
Yeah, it was strange because he just walked off and he looked as if he just accepted it was coming off. It was strange, but
Yeah, maybe one of those things where he's had like a recurring injury or something, and he knew exactly what it was when he felt it.
he's my biggest regret on the platform. I could have got him for 0.8 something, and he's put in some big scores.
Yeah, he's useful. I've got his limited. I won it. I won his limited on Sorare Mega. I think I finished in that. It's like that. As a side game, they give away some pretty good limited cards. Like
Solid.
it's probably the best limited card I've got, to be fair, and I won it. Yeah, I think that maybe like the doubt surrounding him makes me feel a little bit more confident that, like if Taylor would have been like maybe a little bit more of a rotation risk, maybe they fit Taylor and Klaassen in if Berghaus is injured, or they might be looking at Robbie and like Kudus, and they've got so many options now. But Taylor's been pretty nailed on, so
yeah,
I'm feeling quite good about the fact that PSV and Ajax have got some good fixtures. Obviously, like Veerman is like the main guy in my big lineup, wherever I put him, and the fact that he doesn't have any international duty, I'd expect him to start and come correct in a good fixture. So fingers crossed. I'm feeling good about a bit of end product this weekend. And again, like going back to what we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, the tier ones in the D2 pool are incredible again. We've got Gakpo in there in the tier 1 pool for super rare. So like, and I'm pretty sure that they've chucked a star rare in there for the top position as well. They beefed it up a little bit, if I'm not mistaken. Let me have a quick look and remind myself. Yeah, I think, so you've got a star rare in first position, a tier 1 in 2 and 3. But you've got tier 1 super rare in the top 4 positions. And in the pool, we've got, João Felix, Moussa Diaby, Jens Odgaard, Dominic Solobzai, Sywald, Tete, Yunus Akgun, Lafont. There's some big cards in there. Harvey Elliott, Kiergaard. So, yeah, Ricky Pig, Lukeba. They've got some really big cards in there. But actually, looking at this now, it has changed. We were talking about from 3-10 onwards, they were going to be proactively changing what's in the prize pool as the week goes. I'm pretty sure that this has changed since the last time I looked at it as well. So I think that's actively happening already. From the look of it, this definitely looks different.
I was looking through all the prize pools, all the super rare ones before we came on, and there's like no Celtic super rares anywhere this game week, which is kind of interesting for me because it's the first time that's happened in about a month or two. So now I'm not thinking about what tier 2 pool has a Celtic card in it or whatever. So the only kind of I'm trying to get out a specialist super rare team this game week, and see if you look at the actual head count now for the D2s and such. Challenger Euros actually not get that many people entering in it compared to normally this time of the game week normally has a few more heads in there. So I think a lot of people are maybe taking some challenger entries and maybe throwing them in underdogs and specialists and maybe buffing up an all-star and that kind of idea. So I'm throwing a rare keeper up into D2 in there. I'm playing my Joe Hart with my Dundee United, like Unique Mulgrew, super rare Tony, super rare Harks and whatever. Because the prize pool, like in specialist super rare, like not just all the tier 1s and everything that are floating around, but that full podium now is uniques. You know, it is tier 3s and tier 2s, but you know, that's for me one of the big things about getting super rares is hopefully you can chap on the door of getting some of these.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've got a team in the specialist super rare, which looks pretty decent. I think I can probably bolster quite a lot of my teams. Oh, I've just noticed one of the players' games been cancelled, so that's good. I've had a look at that. But yeah, I could if that Etienne Green play comes into fruition for me and he looks likely to start, then I can bolster not only my U23, I can start moving things around in my specialist. I think I'm going to be like rejigging teams right up to the deadline as things are standing.
But see that the rewards to the participants in Specialist Super Rare is unbelievable, by the way.
Yeah.
40, that's 20% win out reward, if I'm right. 40 people out of 200. Say, obviously, a few people sign up, I get that, but it won't be over 300, will it?
Nah.
Probably not.
That's very good, by the way.
That's what I thought. So that's why I'll throw that rare goalkeeper into. I'll put Joe Hart with your lads, Tony, and then I can take the Viviano that I bought to use with you guys, and I'll put him into specialist and get a wee team out there.
I might need to. I'm thinking about selling Bakasekas, or whatever his name is.
Yep.
I love him. He's been amazing for me. But he's sitting at 0.7 just now. And it's a lot, but Joe Mario's 0.68 as well. And see, that team, to be honest, is just an ETH grinding team for me.
Sure.
So I could even switch a couple of them into specialist rare and then just throw out an ETH grinding team, or even go all-star rare pro, so I'm competing in two. But, and then I could maybe get myself. I want to attack the leagues like. I know specialists, like you are saying, is the rewards aren't as great. I get that. But a few tier 2s and tier 3s beef up my gallery. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And it's a better chance of winning, because when I'm hitting big scores the other week, 360 or something, I'm getting a tier 3 worth 30-40 quid, which I'm not complaining about because it's adding onto my gallery. But I want to be winning £100 odd, or a card I can even use an underdog.
Yeah.
Whereas these cards I just sell 10% underneath the market for a great week, whereas I can do it with an alright week. My underdog team, for instance, I don't know why it's got 3 Dundee United players in it now. I must have just put them in for banter, but I've got us 3, and then I've got Vertonghen, which has got a chance of a card.
Nice, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Without actually having, but then my all-star teams get Adan, Sporting Lisbon, Mekele for Bruges, Bakasekas, João Mario, and Idrissi. Probably about, just on the face of it, maybe about 3 ETH. And I've got a chance of winning not even 10% of that yield. So I think it's more consistent, I get that, and it's probably more chance to keep winning the tier 3, but I enjoy having a better crack at Super. Do you know what I mean? I enjoy not facing up against
500 kills and Neymars and all that.
Do you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally, man.
I'm enjoying it more, but I know that there's less chance of winning. That's how stupid my brain's been working. I'm enjoying the game more, but I've got less chance of winning.
No, but I get it. You're also against less people, you know. So the edge of like grabbing the striker that's coming back into form, or the guy that you got for 0.3 that's really worth 0.6, you know, that still happens with those super rare comps and stuff like that. So I get it, man, totally.
Van Zier for me.
Yeah.
He's out with a little injury, but I got him. Somebody paid me 0.25 ETH.
Okay.
In Van Zier for Loic Lapussen. And I got Lapussen for maybe 0.9 in a trade. But Van Zier's a 1.5 card when he's scoring easily.
Yeah.
And I got ETH on top, so I thought, why not take a gamble on him doing alright? Because he's definitely at his lowest.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely like he's had a bad run of scores, hasn't he? But he's not a bad player, and he's on pens as well, isn't he? I know he missed a couple last season, but you'd expect him to be around a penalty era there.
He's got credit in the bank, and
Yeah,
you'd imagine if he's fit, he's in the team, or else at least coming on with a chance to score a goal. So no, I thought that was a good, like obviously a good example, because sometimes in these leagues you need to take a gamble and get a player you think he's not in great form, he's at a low price, but I could get him to win a decent card, rather than having to go, oh, Gonzalo Ramos is 1.5, he'll get me a card, but you're paying premium and there's a good chance he dips, and I probably can't afford that with my gallery.
I hear that. Yeah, especially now you've got to be hitting big scores with every card that you can to get in the pools. But yeah, let's looking again like at the sort of the spread of entries, and like Quinny was saying, at this sort of time of the week, you get a rough idea of how many entries you're going to get in certain divisions, and like the Challenger Europe Super Rare division currently has 115 entries, and there's 27 places being paid out there. All Star 62, only 362 entries. It does look like people are, like the Specialist has 200 entries and the Underdog Super Rare has 443. It's going to be interesting to see like what sort of cards are being played. Obviously, we can't see that until the game week opens, and then we can see like who's put players where. But I was quite surprised in the midweek. I think we spoke about when I entered the U23 D2, and I just missed. I thought I got a tier 3 win, and then I got bumped down a place, so I just finished outside the places. But I was surprised in that midweek how many people had used like super rare Mbappe's in the U23 D2. It was really surprising, but that is probably an indicator of what they've done with the prize pools, putting that star rare in there, and these tier 1 pools being as good as they are. You're going to see these super rare Mbappe's finding their way out of D3 and into D2, which I think is probably what the platform needs, right? And it should make the prize pools a little bit more obtainable for the lesser expensive galleries in those D3 positions, because if you don't have to play against an Mbappe super rare in D3, you got a lot better chance of finishing in the cards if they're all kind of like in D2. And I think like I've definitely felt like I've had some good success in D2 maybe for the last year, and I think a lot of that is down to the fact that you don't actually need the big hitters in D2. You just need like a good average of like maybe 55 across all the cards, and then once they add their bonus, if you've got 5 super rares, and if you've got a unique, even better. But if you could just put 5 super rares out, you could get pretty close to the cards on an average week. But if you bang, you're definitely finishing in the sort of the top 5, top 10. But that is probably not going to be the case as much now that they've buffed up these, particularly the D2 prize pools. And I think it's just made me look a little bit more, again, in recent weeks at that U23 D2. Quinny, I know you've got a lot of super rares, especially in Challenger. Like you've got some great Celtic supers, and what you're looking at the 115 entries in Challenger, 27 paid out. Is Challenger D2 one of the first places you're looking at the moment, or like what's your kind of strategy looking like for this weekend?
Well, that's kind of the thing I was kind of wrestling with earlier. Is like when I kind of realised there was no Celtic supers anywhere. Like I really don't care. So then, like what then happens is my priorities then kind of go back to like my base position, which is just get the best cards to chase the best things. So for me, for my big expense, like the Challenger stuff and the supers and whatever, that specialist podium of all uniques, and then the star super rare that's on the podium at All Star are my two. Like they have to be the priorities for those cards, because they're the things I want to win. I'm not worried about like, oh, do you know what? If I play my Celtic cards in Challenger this week, it's going to be OP because Celtic have a good fixture, and in the tier 1 pool is like Kyogo and Joe Hart and whatever. That's not there. When I look in the tier 1 pool, it's still decent. There's still like Mignolet and whoever, but there's no hoops. So like I don't care about that division anymore. Like today, and I can kind of readjust. So it's actually been quite nice for that to happen, because I've been so like tunnel vision with Celtic cards for far too long, especially on reward pools for the last month. And it's kind of nice to be able to just go, right, what's my best combination of players, and what's the best chance they've got of winning something, and where is that?
That was the old school way of doing it, I think. That's how I always used to kind of just see what the biggest score I think I could get and where that would hit hardest in the leagues you can play it.
Exactly.
What about you, Tony? What's your like tactics looking like for this weekend?
As you spoke, I just got to deal with Pav.
Breaking.
Yeah. I sent a Gabriel Avalos, who I couldn't really shift. I got him in a trade a while back. And 0.12 for Charlie Mulgrew and William Carvalho, super rares.
Nice.
Carvalho's probably get a bit of World Cup utility, so I'm kind of got one eye on that. And I put 4 Dundee United outfield players and Adan from my All-Star rare team in to my Challenger super rare. But now I need to go and get a rare keeper, which is a problem, but I'm just going to treat that as a probably ETH grinder. If I sell back a Sekis, if that's how you say it,
yeah,
and I might get Hatati because I know he's got midweek utility. His forward card, then I might buy a goalkeeper with a change.
Yeah,
and then that would be me having 6 teams out. So I'll have
nice
Specialist Super Rare, Underdog Super Rare, All-Star Pro, All-Star, Super Rare All-Star, and Super Rare Challenger Europe. So the Challenger Europe, to be fair, says there's only 117 participants. What's the payout? 30 cards. Yeah, 30 cards, isn't there? 27 places. That's very good again. Like, say you go and say your team goes and does well, you get a stack. You've got a chance of winning 3-0 4 or 5 times a year with whatever team you're at. So you could probably end up with a nice card in that.
Yeah.
The only thing is the average score is about 390 upwards. But
I think that happens more when those big clubs have the big fixtures. And I was saying, I think that Ajax and PSV are probably like the most favourable stacks, if you like, in there this week. But a lot of those players also fall into U23 utility. So
and a lot of them don't put them in Challenger, do they?
Exactly, yeah. I think that there's going to be a big split, and obviously the boost of rewards in the Specialist and Underdog. I think that should hopefully bring the scores to a little bit more of a sensible level. So if you do have a half decent Challenger entry this weekend, it might be worth a look. I mean,
even that, you've got Brandon Meckley, who's in my main team. You've got Onuachu, I know he's not playing now. Bas Dost, he has super rares in the prize pool. Okumu, who plays every week at Ghent. You've got decent enough players in the tier 2 prize pool, and to win a tier 2 you need to finish top 11. That's top 10%. That's very achievable.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of super rare. I'd just like to win one week. That would be very good for me if I could get a win.
Yeah, I just love to land in that tier 1 pool if I can. I think it's definitely my main entry this weekend, and I think if I can get some clarity on Etienne Green, maybe I swap him out for Muric. And the only other option maybe is like Julian Araujo I've got in there at the moment. Maybe swap him for Seo Yong-woo, although he did start on the bench in the last game, so it's like it's difficult. Obviously, I'm going to miss not having Igor Diviv in there. He picked up that injury.
I would rather have, if I've got 5 teams, I'll be honest, I'd rather have, including the Underdog, 24 players and just need to move them about. I hate having excess players.
Yeah.
Because I can't choose who I want to play.
That's kind of where I'm at. I'm using those players in other teams at the moment. They're not just sat out, but I'm kind of like trying to figure out if I can like move some players from maybe the Underdog or Specialist into U23 and around. I think I said the other week I'd that Marcelo Weigand who plays for Boca, but he's not really had a look in this season. And then he went ahead and started and scored like 80 points, and I just had him in like a throwaway lineup. But off the back of that, you'd expect maybe he gets another go again. So I've got him in my Underdog at the minute, but I wouldn't risk him in my U23 in my main lineup. But definitely I must have missed what happened there with Shimizu S-Pulse, but it looks like their fixture's been cancelled because I had a couple of players in lineups.
It might be the one I seen. It might be to do with the typhoon or the hurricane, or
that's probably right. Yeah,
I seen something the other day, but maybe today or whatever.
There's definitely. I'm going to have to do a bit of tinkering because I've got a couple of players from those teams in lineups, so I need to make some changes already. I'm glad I've seen that now because I missed that a few weeks ago with another fixture. So just having a look now. I'll tell you what they could do with actually. Just when you go into like my teams, it could definitely be a little bit more visible that players in those lineups don't have a game. It says underneath like no game.
Yeah.
But they could put a little red circle around it or something. That's just like no game.
Double highlight it kind of style.
Yeah, just make it a little bit, without making it too easy to not get a DMP. But just little things like that would be quite nice, I think, as a helper. Yeah, I've just looked now, so I've got another player in my underdog rare that I need to move out because I had Carlinios in there who plays for Shimizu, so I'm going to have to change him as well. So yeah, both of my underdog lineups, super rare and rare, are now affected. But I've got plenty of options. Like I said, I'm overrun with underscoring forwards at the minute, so I've got lots of options there. Just got to pick one.
That's it. Just stick with it. I've got like 19 teams going out this game week, and it feels like cross limited's and everything. And I don't know. It feels like maybe the first little week in a while where I don't know. Yeah, I'm quite excited to. I think I've got my combinations pretty good. Like, see what you're talking about there, Tony. Like leaving folk out. Like that's part of the game week that I really enjoy. Is trying to figure out who is actually the guy I should be picking.
You must be a psychopath then, Quinny. Jesus Christ, how can you enjoy that? My head's about to explode, but no, I've seen your teams and that was only a joke. Is he still there? I've seen your teams. You do well at that. You do well splitting them. Because I've told you a couple of times, I don't think this guy will play, and you're like maybe Hatati, and you're like, nah, he's playing. And I'm the footballer that's meant to then say info, yeah, I get it wrong and you get it right. Do you know what I mean? Is he a waste dish?
No, I'm here. It's just the camera's overheated, sorry. I said that camera thing just threw me off.
I think that's probably one of your strengths, picking the right players in the right places and splitting them well. Whereas I'm probably a master at splitting them up. Like I could have a yellow, a green, a dark green, a yellow, and then have two dark greens,
every
a green.
team.
Honestly.
I've definitely had a lot of
I think we'll do that.
scores.
I know, for sure. It's nothing worse. But,
Nah, it's awful, isn't it?
But not that. I actually think like one of the best ways to be winning an SO5 is having choice, because like sometimes like, when you're looking at a gallery and you think, oh, that guy's fixture could be better, and if that was, this whole team becomes much better all of a sudden. Like you can buy replacements for that, but what I've tried to always do is maybe like have enough guys where like odds are one of them's got a good game, and it's about working out which one that is, rather than thinking, oh shit, I've got nobody. If somebody's been injured or a transfer didn't work out for somebody or whatever,
Do you think there's a formula there in terms of, do you think most of the time the better matchup is the better one? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think like big team versus small team or top versus bottom's always something to take it or to try and take advantage of, because those are the games. Like, from playing and stuff, like there's a game sometimes where teams show up and they know like we've got them a day, and for whatever reason maybe they're all trying to impress or get a transfer or stay in the team for Europe or whatever it is. And those are the games where people like really can crush and drop a big score. But I do think people underestimate the value in a tough game for good SO5 scoring, because some guys that want to be involved in the match, tackling, intercepting, passing, running, and all that, if it's a boring game where they're dominating, they don't actually trap any scores. They need to be in a game where high octane in that sense. And again, that's where like kind of judging who's the guy I should be playing. Like I've got a guy who's going into. I was desperate to put him in a team this week. His name's Ivan Ilic. He's a Serbian midfielder, under 23 guy, and I've had his super rare for over a year now. But he's not been doing that great. He's a solid starter. He takes some set pieces and stuff. But on the international break, he replaced Milinkovic-Savic, in the starting lineup for the second game, and he got a decisive action. I forget if it was a goal, but I think it was an assist. So I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, that wee guy's going to be going back to Verona, and he's going to be feeling like the Doug's nuts, And Udinese are doing well now, so it's not an easy game for Verona. But a guy like that who's in, he'll come back with a bit of air around him back in the training ground, and he'll be wanting to get back on the pitch and start doing it. So based on that, like every other data metric on Sorare data, the pro lineup thing says it's a terrible game for Illich. But I'm just looking at him and I'm like, I've just got a feeling you're going to do great this week. And I really want to try and put him in somewhere. And that's the selection things I really like leaning into and experiencing.
The gut, going with the gut.
Going with the gut.
That's it. Sometimes it's the best way to go. Like, you can look at all these websites and read the sort of like predicted lineups, but the amount of times I've changed my lineups thinking, I'm not sure about that, but if that person says that they're going to start, then maybe they do, and then they don't, and I'm like, sometimes you're just better off sticking with, like you said, like that gut feeling, knowing or having a rough idea of how things are going to pan out. But no, I feel that definitely.
I think as well there'll be a big advantage. We're talking about prize pools and divisions and all the rest of it. The amount of players that are not affected by being away in internationals, being subject to rotation with European football next midweek and all the rest of it. Like this weekend, I think is going to be I think there'll be some crazy nice teams that do well, that aren't maybe a power team or whatever, because they've picked the fixture and they've picked the right division to play them in and all that good fun stuff,
I hear that. Yeah, it's definitely difficult coming back. We're getting it a lot at the moment, aren't we? With international week, midweek fixtures. It is difficult. It's difficult to kind of put a finger on.
But the prize pools this week are ridiculous, man. Like 170 prizes in All-Star, and then all the other stuff we've been talking about along the side. Like, it's the biggest game week ever, And there's so much going on. I think there's going to be opportunities all over the place. Like, I'm hoping we don't see too much whale domination on the leaderboard. I want to see lots of wacky, teams and smaller managers getting into top 20s and top 10s. Because it feels like one of those weeks, like I said earlier, like PSG, I don't think they've got a great game either, but I think they'll win, but I don't think they're playing bottom of the table or anything ridiculous. And yeah, I just don't think there's many of those fixtures going around this week. And because some Wales will be putting their power super rare into the specialist super rare to bolster a team up, and then they'll take another guy and they'll play him into this team now. So I think a lot of the power is I think you kind of touched on this earlier, Stish, but it's more kind of spread around the
diluted it a little bit.
Yeah. So it should be fun, man.
I'd love to see where people are putting their cards ahead of the game week. That's one thing I would say, the community is very helping. We're all quite forthcoming with information. If we spot an injury or something like that, you'll let people know. But no one lets anyone know where they're putting their players in their lineup. Yeah, especially at the top end. It's like you look at some of those whales on Twitter, and there's no one lets anyone know where they're putting their the Vinicius super rare or
we're going.
But if you haven't got those cards, you'd love to know. I'd love to know. How many Mbappes I'm playing against in U23 D2 this weekend. But I guess that's that takes the sting out of it a little bit, doesn't it?
I don't think that many this week, man, based on the reward pool.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely changed. Like I said, since I last looked at it,
it's still good. Decent, they're still good, man. Yeah, but I don't know if you'd be throwing Mbappe super rares at that price pool, would you?
Probably not. You're probably right. I think the prize pool works for me and my gallery. But if you're the kind of player who's got your Neymar, Mbappe, Messi super rares, that's probably not the most appealing. But there's a lot of cards in there that, as a super rare would really bolster my D3 entries. If I could get a couple more of those top tier or tier 1 super rares. And I think I've done pretty well out of it the last sort of 6 to 12 months. I've won some pretty decent super rares that have helped. I think Al Hassan Yusuf has been one of the best ones. Nice. And Julian Araujo has been really good in the last maybe 5 games as well. So problem with Araujo and most wing backs are they either score 30 or they score 80, and it's you just got to have them in the lineup on the week that they score the 80, and you're laughing. But I look at him and I always feel an element of risk. Him, there's a few cards in my gallery like it where you just kind of wish they were a dependable central defensive midfielder or something, but you can't have a team full of them, sadly. And I definitely bought a few players like that pre-season that haven't really banged, like Tom Hay, or Tom High, as he's announced, he plays for Heerenveen. He's on set pieces, he's on corners, he's a defensive midfielder, a bit like the old Joey Veerman at Heerenveen, and I picked him up as a rare and as a limited, and I think his value's like down 50% from what I paid for him when he had like the low supply. He's just not quite hit the same. I think Heerenveen have been okay, but he's just not really been amongst the goal actions as much.
That's the fear I've always had with these guys. That's why I've never got like a Vanaken when I won Morioka. So because I just think some of these challenger guys that look like too good to be true, I'm always scared that they are. And obviously Vanaken and Morioka, these guys have been around forever now at this point. But when that Tom Hay guy first came out, his scores were mental, and he only had like 2 cards or something mental.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm nervous to sell that I would get a guy like that, and they would just turn out to be normal.
I had him in my watch list, and I thought, as soon as I saw his cards minted, I thought, oh, here he is. Like, no one knows about this guy. But I realised who I was bidding against those first couple of cards, and I was like, no, this guy's definitely not under the radar. People have been waiting for this card. And
nobody's under the radar in this game. There's a madness going on.
I think the only place I'd say that there is when they launch, when they launched the league, like the Division 2s, on Sorare data, a lot of those like second division cards didn't have their sort of L40 scores like registered on the platform, even though they existed on the Opta index. They didn't exist on Sorare data, so you could, that first like week or so where the cards started coming out, you could pick up a couple of like under the radar there. But like you said, like now if they launched like the A League, I mean I haven't looked, maybe they don't, but there's most divisions now you can look at like players L40s before they've even been minted, and it's like. Like if they launched a Prem, we already know who the best players are.
Yeah, it'd be good if they launched a team, for instance, one that's not covered by Opta, and then done Opta coverage.
Yeah, that's it.
Cup games aren't covered, so you can't actually see how well your player does. It's annoying because sometimes your player plays in the cup and you're like, right, I want to have a look, but you can't actually look at Sorare data and see how they've scored.
Yeah. So I used to do that with the winter breaks with like the Austrian and the Russian players, because then they would bring, if you use so you can use like Flash Score as opposed to like FOTMob. Flash Score will show you the lineups for like the friendlies in Russia that you maybe don't get on FOTMob. So I'd like to go in there and see who they're putting through their paces in the winter break, and then hopefully a couple of times they'd mint them when you come back and you could pick up a little bargain. But it's very difficult now with the data and the information we've got. It's really hard to spot someone before everyone else is already following them. And it's the margins are becoming thinner and thinner, aren't they? And like, especially in the trading sense, it's really hard to pick them up. Do you know what's just popped in my head actually? And I'll say it now before I forget. But we mentioned, you mentioned William Carvalho a minute ago and like the World Cup utility, and I thought, I was looking myself at like what I've got when the World Cup's on, like what have I got to enter, and I've been trying to find what divisions still play during the World Cup, and actually, it's a nice little nugget here for anyone listening. The Chinese Super League continues through the World Cup, so if you've got any players in that division, you can use them. La Liga Smart Bank has fixtures throughout the World Cup. The Championship, the English Championship, resumes after the group stage. So during the knockout games, they'll be playing again. And I believe... So there'll be players covered. Yeah, there'll be players covered on Sorare that have like home, like normal fixtures during the World Cup. I'd have to go back into my messages, but I think it was La Liga 2, Serie B as well. But I know we haven't got all of their cards yet, but there are the odd player here and there. But yeah, there's going to be some fixtures that are non-World Cup that are covered by Sorare. So a bit of scouting to be done there, definitely.
I went and picked up 15 La Liga Smart Bank Limiteds this week.
I saw your video pop up in my feed. I haven't watched it, but when I saw that, I did wonder if that was anything to do with the World Cup. Was that to do with the World Cup? Or
the main strategy for that, because they're limited, is I just want to keep playing specialist limited. Right. Because that's obviously a decent prize pool anyway, so I'm not going to spend and get an ETH bashing team out of that lot, because it would just be far too expensive to churn out 0.12 of Ethereum or whatever for 6 weeks or whatever it would be, So I thought Specialist Limited, I could have a good stab at that still. It wouldn't cost too much. And hey, we have some fun. Maybe I sell some of the guys. Maybe I keep some of them. I found a guy that turns out that he is like top 10 potential rating on FIFA this year. And he plays in Serie B. Top 10 potential rating out of any player in the game. And his name is Alberto Moliero. I seen that right as I was
to the watch list.
yeah. I seen that tweet from somebody right after I was kind of going through my D2 building. And I seen that guy and I went and found him and added him in. Anyway, I ended up getting his limited and a wee bit of luck, but I got his jersey number out of it, number 10. So, and I think he's actually one, I think he's, funnily enough, one of the cheaper ones that's went. So I'll probably hang on to him, but the rest of them, like, you know, if they're like, I've got like 14, 15 cards there. So if a few of them pop off, like, I don't mind selling a few of them for a bit of profit. And then I should hopefully still have a functional specialist team behind that.
Yeah, decent. I've just given him a little follow on there. Is he at Las Palmas? Is that like Las Palmas?
That's the boy.
Alberto Moliero. Yeah, okay. I'll be keeping an eye on him now. That's interesting.
Rapid, you know, so somebody knows something. Is it unique?
I see that, yeah.
Or something?
Picked up by Wen Moon, who I've definitely seen in a few of the U23 prize pools. So
yeah,
someone knows what they're looking at. Definitely. That's interesting. But yeah, the little interesting nugget there that I noticed was those divisions do have fixtures during the World Cup. So
not Bundesliga 2, but Bundesliga 2 is basically the same as normal Bundesliga in terms of its calendar. So
yeah. And Ligue 2 in France was the same. That does stop as well. But yeah, La Liga 2 and after the World Cup, the Turkish League has fixtures on Christmas Day. So if you fancy watching Christmas
the Belgian League is on the Friday, the 23rd of December.
Oh wow!
So that game week, there's a Christmas game week, and it's Belgium and Turkey.
Brussels sprouts and Turkey.
Brussels and Turkey. I knew there was a joke in that. That's what it is. Brussels and Turkey.
There you go. Brussels and Turkey, mate. I love that.
There's a joke. I was thinking Belgian chocolate. My chocolate's got fuck all to do with Christmas. Why is this in my head?
Now you know.
Yes, that's what it is.
That's it, mate.
End product sticky boy. That's what we're here for.
That's it, mate. That one's straight in the back of the net there.
For sure. So I'm buzzing for the game week. It should be a good one. Lots of teams out everywhere.
Likewise, definitely going to be tweaking tomorrow morning, right up to the deadline, no doubt.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try and do mine tonight and just put it away tomorrow. Only a goalkeeper, but I'm just trying to get the brain off that kind of zone.
No, I hear that.
Yeah, it's like that way where when you've got the combinations kind of worked out, just got to step away from it and just go, I accept my decision. I've done it. All I'm doing now is listening out for news. Is someone injured? Is there a press conference happened? And then it's just about keeping your ear close to the ground.
We should try and pick I know we've not done a challenge, but we should try and pick who's going to be our highest scoring lineup. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So
across all divisions.
Yeah. So for instance, this is going to be confusing, but say you pick one and it finishes bottom. Do you know what I mean? Close.
Of your lineups. Yeah. Yes. What will be your best lineup?
Yes.
It's not that my lineup will beat yours, but like mine's is. I said this was my best and it was third, and you said yours was the best and it was the best.
So you win. I put out 6 and you put out 12 and Stish puts out 18. For us to draw, if mine comes second, yours comes fourth, his comes sixth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How much percentage down your?
How about we do on place, like how high it places?
Yeah, that could work. All right,
then worry about scores and all that caper, what division it's in, multipliers and stuff. Just
so, for instance, if you pick your best one in your podium, you're winning. But if you pick a middle of the road one, it could be better score than the rest of yours, but it could be in a harder league.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to go with. I am going to go with my U23 Pro D3. I think that team should do well this weekend. Yeah,
I think I'll. Do you know what? I'm going to back the boys. I'm going my Challenger Super Rare Europe. Adan, Ryan Edwards, Charlie McGrew, Ian Hart, Tony Watt, and I'm trying to get Dylan Levitt in a trade.
I love it. Yes, Super Rare Challenger.
I'm backing the boys.
Go on.
I'll back the boys as well. I'll take my Super Rare Challenger Europe as well then.
Yes, I
And
hope the boys are rich. This is only outsider then. I hope his Colin Levitt has an amazing game actually. Sorry, I shouldn't say that.
No, I think I was looking at my U23 Super Rare as my next, and that's got my Levitt in there. So
Right, so we'll kid on that Levitt's in your good team, but we're all Dundee United heavy this week.
I mean, the U23 Super Rare is definitely my main entry, but I think I do worry that there's going to be some heavy hitters in that division. Whereas I think I can do well in U23 Pro with the supers I've got there. But yeah, like the U23 Super Rare would have been the next closest, and Levitt's in there. So I mean, maybe we make it interesting, and I'll go that one then. I'll go U23 Super Rare.
Ooh.
And then so we've all got heavy Dundee United activity this weekend.
So should we post it in and say we'll tweet about it then?
Yeah. So like we're all watching Dundee United this weekend.
We are all Dundee United this weekend.
We are, yeah.
Whose team's going to be more successful in their respective divisions, and then you can give them a choice.
We'll do little screenshots at 11 o'clock once everyone's finished tweaking their teams, and we know exactly who's got when.
Because we don't want anybody in chat taking the teams out the same division because the Dundee United boys are going to run riot, are we?
My Dundee United teams get Joe Hart and goals, then the Mulgrew, Harks and Watt, kind of unique super rares, and then Ross McCrory, Aberdeen at home to Kelly.
Aye, got a chance, and he scored a couple of worldies, hasn't he?
So hopefully that's all right.
I'm hoping JR Duke, if any's a good pals with JR Duke, I've put a good bid in for Levitt, so hopefully I get him.
He'll negotiate, that guy. He'll negotiate. I think he's the Real Madrid guy. So I don't. Is he the Real Madrid guy?
I think he is. He's got all these champions. But no, lads, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to be back.
Yeah, it's been good to have you, mate.
That's it.
Good luck for the weekend. Smash some goals in.
That's
from now on, even if we've not had, I felt a bit, because we've not really been playing well, I didn't want to come on. But from now on, win or lose, I'm on.
Yes.
That's good to hear. But it's all about what happens on the pitch, Tony boy. So of course we all understand. You know, if you got to knuckle down and obviously get scrapping with it. You know.
That's it. No, lads, it's been a pleasure.
It's been great, guys. Good luck this weekend. Good luck, Tony. See you
Smash
again
up.
soon.
Pleasure, boys. See you in a bit.